As far as redraft is a whole different beast. And I think it's time, Tyler, we got to get into this first round, bro, because it's so controversial. And I think this year at the top of redraft drafts, there's always a saying like, this is a running back draft or this is a wide receiver draft. This year, like, bro, you could take a running back first. You could take a wide receiver first in the first round.
There's a lot of good picks.
There's really, really good talent, and there's talent like in the second round that probably should be first round talent, and vice versa. So let's talk about this number one pick, because I think this is this is me and you territory right now. Our guys are up here in contention for the number one picks. Guys that we've talked about last year as number one picks are here yet again, man. Bijan and Ja'Marr Chase, is that what we're doing again this year?
Yeah, I have Bijan ranked as my RB1. Now, I will say, I think it's like the top three. Like, I feel pretty good about the top three. I even feel good about Devon Achane. He goes later. Like, he honestly goes in the second round. Like, I'm fine
as
with
the
that.
number one pick?
No. Like, I'm saying the top three running backs, I feel like can go as the number one pick. If you want to take Jahmyr Gibbs, have at it. Like, I'm fine with that. Saquon. I do, in my opinion, I look at Ja'Marr Chase as like the undisputed number one wide receiver. And the reason being is just because you got Joe Burrow. Like, it looks like it's a run back situation from last year where the defense probably isn't going to be very good once again. This offense, they're going to have to lean into it. We know Ja'Marr Chase, how good he can be when him and Joe Burrow are healthy. Like, if these two guys are healthy, I would be shocked if Ja'Marr Chase is not at the very least a top three wide receiver. So I feel really good. Or another guy that I'm going to say, like, I don't even think it's a dark horse-esque pick, but like, he was going there last year, CeeDee Lamb. Like, CeeDee Lamb's back. As long as Dak is healthy and CeeDee is healthy, like, I know some people are looking at George Pickens coming in here. I think George Pickens will be fine, but like, CeeDee Lamb is one of the very best wide receivers in the league. There's plenty of targets here. I think CeeDee Lamb will get fed once again, and I would not be shocked if he's, finishes wide receiver one once again, just because, like, that's how good he is. Those are the guys that I'm really looking at as the number one picks in fantasy right now.
So I think I've done a couple mocks already. Surprisingly, I've already done a few mocks, and I know this doesn't tell the full story, right? Because when you get closer to August, it's going to be a lot different. But what I'm finding is that there's a lot of value with receivers later on in this draft. The running backs have been pushed up, and I think we talked about the rookie running backs having a big impact. I think a lot of those guys are going to start to climb up the board as well. So the one player I like Bijan as my number one pick, because I think that if I was to bet on somebody having a mega season this year, I think that's the guy that I would bet on having it, right? Saquon had a mega season last year, but there's also, he's older. Injuries will play a part. Championship run, longer season last year. Like, there's a lot of the fact that the RB1 from last year doesn't normally translate to the next year. There's a lot of factors that go into that thought. So it's more of a gut call than anything, because I think Saquon is elite. I just don't want to take him at my number one spot. Whereas Bijan, the way he finished last season, Tyler, when Michael Penix came in there, scoring 2 touchdowns a game, consistently over 100 yards total offense. Like, I think Bijan has one of those seasons in store. This team fully embraced him being the guy. And Tyler Algier thing that was earlier part of the season, that's no longer. If he plays 17 games, I'm betting on him having – and he didn't have like a lot of long touchdown runs last year. It was kind of like he struggled a lot early on and still finished as – I know he finished as the top 5 guy. I don't know where he finished.
He was RB3.
RB3 at the end of the season. So I think for me, Bijan is going to be my RB1. And it's tough because I really like Ja'Marr Chase too. And he kind of quieted a lot of my concerns last year. He stayed healthy. He did have some of the blow-up games, right? Those 40-point, 50-point games that really carried his season, but he was a little bit more consistent down the stretch. I still carry some of those concerns, Tyler, where he has been injury-prone in the past. He has been kind of driven by the 50-point games, the 40-point games, which I'm sure he's going to have again this year. But I think Justin Jefferson had a very quiet season, so I don't know if it's as clear to me with J.J. McCarthy coming in. I don't know if it's as clear to me, wide receiver 1, Ja'Marr Chase should be the first pick off the board. I'll give him wide receiver 1. I just don't know about
we're really doing this with JJ again. Listen, JJ was fantastic, but I'll tell you, Justin Jefferson last year, lowest points per game total since his rookie season. Yes, he finished as wide receiver 2, but Puka Nacua finished with more points per game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, was 4.4 points per game less than JJ was. And you just said it. The biggest problem is JJ McCarthy could be Sam Darnold, or even better, or he could be worse.
Or
like
worse.
We have no idea if he's worse. And that's why, for me personally, and I've talked about this, and this was the same thing last year. Like, I feel great. CeeDee Lamb could be wide receiver 1. There's no question in my mind that can happen.
I don't see that.
100%.
I don't see that.
Jahmyr Gibbs could be RB1. Saquon Barkley could be RB1. I think that there's a lot of variance with Justin Jefferson. I would be surprised if he was wide receiver 1, unless JJ McCarthy is like really, really good, which he could be. But I also would not be shocked if Justin Jefferson falls to like 16 points per game, because JJ McCarthy is just not very good.
No, there's no chance. He's too good for that. He's too good for that.
He's not too good for that.
Justin Jefferson is too good for that.
He just had 18 fantasy points per game. It could drop 2 if JJ McCarthy is bad. Like, there's a chance he's bad.
We're not doing that with JJ. We're not doing that with Justin Jefferson. Jefferson is elite.
I'd rather have Amon-Ra over Justin Jefferson. He's safer.
You got a wide receiver 5 right now? That's absolutely insane if you do.
No, he's 4.
You got Chase, CD, St. Brown. You got Malik over him?
No, not Malik.
Okay, so you got him at 4.
Yeah, 4. And there, I understand that there's higher upside with Justin Jefferson, but like, who's safer right now, knowing their quarterback situation, knowing their teams? Him or Amon-Ra? Amon-Ra is safer.
They're both the same 1,500 yards. Both of them are. And Justin Jefferson just has way more upside.
There's a chance JJ could be terrible. He could be
There's a chance his offense for the Lions goes to shit without Ben Johnson.
I'm sure. I
still believe. I don't want to say go to shit, because I think it's still going to be good.
No, I think it's still going to be good. It could take a step back, maybe. For sure. That could happen.
What about the rest of the first round, man? Like, obviously at the back end, I think, to be honest, there's years past where I'm like, oh, I don't really care, bro. I love any pick, right? Like years past. Just based off of early ADP right now, that 9 through 12 is going to be absolutely mind-boggling. Like, you're going to have to make some very hard decisions at the back end of this draft, because we talked about it. I think the first 6 picks are like CeeDee Lamb, Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan, Chase, Jetta. Like, you're going to have top elite tier talent. But that back end of the first round, top end of the second round, you have to just take the guys you like. I mean, we're talking the back end of the first round right now. You got Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, your Ashton Jeanty, Christian McCaffrey. At the receiver position, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, Puka Nacua. He goes in the middle of the round sometimes too. Like AJ Brown, like there's guys that Nico Collins, Garrett Wilson, Drake, you could throw a ton of names there at that back end of the first round, top end of the second round. You are going to have to make tough decisions, and every draft is going to be different.
Yeah. No, I like the back end of the first round. All the names that you just, like all the names that you mentioned, like having like Amon-Ra and a Devon Achane start, like that just feels silly. Like
you can't, because St. Brown's going like middle of the first round, middle to like late.
In Underdog, like he goes from pick 7. I've seen him go to pick 12.
Underdog. The best ball rankings don't equate to redraft at all.
Yes, it does.
No, it does not, bro. You look at last year, like it does not.
All right.
Normally, I would say the best ball rankings, they prioritize like the big play guys. Like I would say that they push back.
All right, fair. Well, then I mean Devon Achane. So what you're saying, like Devon Achane is going to be a first round pick?
I think he's going to be a first round pick.
No, I think maybe
especially in the second round.
Yeah. Well, all right. If you're going to say Devon Achane, what, like you could go Amon-Ra, Jonathan Taylor, like that's just Bijan Robinson and Garrett Wilson, because Garrett Wilson right now is that like I love that start compared to the other start where like last year it was like there's like 2 picks, 3 picks, and then it was like Marv.
Well,
Chris Olave,
Marv for y'all, not Marv for me.
Chris Olave, but even like Drake London, like it was okay. So I feel like this year there's a lot of really good high end talent, because you obviously got Nico, you got Malik, like there's just so many good guys that all right, they want to go with Amon-Ra. Well, then that means Malik is falling a little bit. So I mean, I love it. The one guy that personally I like, don't get me wrong. We kind of talked about him earlier. I'm just skipping out on Brian Thomas Jr. in this range. I'd rather go with Malik. I'd rather go with, Nico Collins. I'd much rather go with Puka Nacua. Like, there's other guys that I'd rather take Devon Achane once again, because I do think that Travis Hunter is going to be an elite tier wide receiver, and I'd just rather go with those other guys. But if he's there in the second round, I mean, obviously I'll still take him, but I don't think he will be. I think he's going to be right there with Malik. Like, those two guys are going to go neck to neck, and I'd much rather have Malik.
A few guys that have dropped out of the first round, right? I don't want to talk about fades quite yet, because I think the first round could go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think guys that are completely out on the first round right now that were in there last year. Number one, your guy, Breece Hall. Number two, Christian McCaffrey. Right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, these guys were high-end picks last year, no longer in the first round. Another guy, Tyreek Hill. Another player, Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
Which one of these players do you think has the best chance of returning first-round value that's going outside of the first round now that, these new guys have been pushed up?
I mean, not fair to say Christian McCaffrey, like, he's borderline first round. He usually goes at least drops to like mid-second right now.
Yeah.
Obviously, like, there's always injury concerns with him. I mean, that's just the nature of, but like, if he stays healthy, and you can say this about anybody, if he stays healthy, like, on that offense, they don't have, Debo's there anymore. Like, he's just going to see so much volume. They need him. So he's a guy that I could definitely see it, and I feel like he's an easy one. And then who was the Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, Garrett Wilson, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall.
Out of those guys, it's tough. I would go with the two Jets. I'm out on Tyreek. I'll just say this now. I'm out on Tyreek. I'm out. I'm very, very
out like you don't like him at his ADP, or out like he won't touch your team?
Well, I feel like he's going to get streamed up. He won't touch my team probably, unless he falls, because right now I think he's going to be like a third or second round pick. And I think he'll gradually, as the summer goes on, people will be more invested because they'll be like, it's Tyreek Hill. Very concerning last year. I don't care what anybody says. Like, and the drop-off sometimes happens so fast. We saw it with Julio Jones. His drop-off happened so fast. And so for me, Tyreek Hill, I like Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson where they're currently going. Definitely Breece Hall. I'll say Breece Hall just because he's going like fourth round-ish right now. Now, obviously
RB13-ish, RB13, 15-ish.
Well, honestly, even later, like, once again, underdog. All right. So underdog right now, he's going like RB15. And I understand, because this is another conversation, but like, guys, the top 12 running backs are just so good. Like, there's so many good workhorse. Like, right now, Josh Jacobs goes as like RB12, which is crazy. Because Josh Jacobs is, but Breece Hall, like, there's obviously some concern because of what happened last year. Then you have Justin Fields, who we'll see what happens, and then them talking about this three running. But we know the talents. It's like the same thing with Travis Etienne, which I know everybody hates Travis Etienne, but like, just 2 years ago, Breece Hall and Travis Etienne were RB2, RB3 in fantasy football. Like, it changes so much that now he's RB, like, going in the fourth round. So he's a guy that I definitely think could get, especially if he leaves next year, because I think he's a free agent. So if he leaves and or even they trade him and he goes somewhere else, I believe in the talent of Breece Hall. Just obviously the situation's a little bit muddy, but those sometimes make the greatest values for players.
I feel like Breece Hall is going to be one of those players we look at like, why the hell were we fading this guy? It's going to be one of those things where we look back and we see that he was RB2 last year or 2 years ago, and it's like the talent didn't just go anywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
the thing is, 2 years ago, like, he was getting faded because he's coming off the ACL.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. Oh my gosh, he's going in the fourth round, sometimes fifth round of drafts. And it's
insane. You can pair him up with one or two elite backs, and then you're like, okay, cool. My team has so much upside because if Breece hits, he's a top 5 guy. Like, there's no disputing that. And I think the one concern is, this three-headed monster. And it's like, we hear this every offseason. Every offseason, there's a team that says, we want to get our backs more involved. And it's like, no shit, you want to say that, because what are you going to do? Say, hey, we're only going with one guy and tell everybody else we don't need you? That's not what teams do. It's a brand new regime. They got to figure out what they have. And if you're bringing over the passing game coordinator from the Lions, who obviously love to get Jahmyr Gibbs involved, who was a top 3 back in a committee last year where they used 3 backs. They used Dave Montgomery, Craig Reynolds. They were all used. It didn't matter because Jahmyr Gibbs was still elite. If we see that out of Breece Hall, maybe it's less usage in the run game, maybe it's more usage in the passing game. I am all for that. And to hear the way that the fantasy community is panicking right now off of Aaron Glenn saying they want to use a 3-headed committee. What team in the league uses a 3-headed committee? None. It's like 60, 30, 10. That's how it is. It's not 30, 30, 30. Like, that's not what teams do. So I just don't understand the panic off of Breece Hall. I think that Breece Hall is going to be a strong running back one for teams this year. And then I think too, just real quick, I think Tyreek Hill. I think you're off about Tyreek.
Yeah,
I think he was dealing with that hand injury early on. Never really got things going with Tua last year. He was dealing with the injury late in the year. Unless the injuries are going to start to become a thing and he's not taking care of his body, Tyreek Hill is still elite. I think that. I think you're off on that one.
I'm concerned. I think the fall off's right around the corner because he's a speed guy who relies on speed. And once the speed starts to go, he's in his 30s. Once that speed goes, I don't. Well, we'll see. I could be wrong. But one last thing I'll say about Breece too is that people were saying how inefficient he was last year, and he was a little bit inefficient. And then they talked about Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen averaged 3.6 yards per carry. Breece was at 4.2. So like Breece was much more efficient than Braylon Allen was. And he has the receiving chops that I don't think Braylon Allen has. So, yeah, I agree with Breece. And the biggest question mark I just have is, like, how good is this offense going to be? Yeah. You know, I want to be shocked if Justin Fields gets benched at some point and then who they kind of go into later in the season.
Justin Fields, we're going to run back that Justin Fields combo because I got
I love Justin Fields for
way fantasy. Higher than most.
Oh, I love Justin Fields for fantasy.
He's my QB7 right now. My ranking's my QB7 right now.
He's my quarterback, I think 12, 11.
Yeah. We'll see.
But
he's going to be higher than that by season start. You're going to say much higher than that. He's going to be elite this year.
The only problem is I feel like he'll get drafted higher. Like, why take him when I could take Dak Prescott or my boy Drake